Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is miahtheking, and if you get exposed to mustard gas or pepper spray in a war zone, that makes you a seasoned veteran. Now, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called Bellwright, an open-world crafting survival game developed by Donkey Crew and published by Donkey Crew and Snail Games USA, released in early access and selling for $30. So, what is this game? Well, it's basically, like I said earlier, a crafting survival game. A long, long time ago, when your character was just a small child, they witnessed the assassination of the prince of your kingdom. Obviously, you were blamed for it, so you go on the run. For about 20 years you run and hide until your guardian, sent to protect you, is assassinated. So you return home to try and figure out who would possibly do such a thing. When you return, you find out your kingdom is ruled by the evil queen, sister to the late prince, and everything is corrupt and evil, and only you can save them. By building straw hut after straw hut, and trapping rabbits in small cages. Oh, and don't forget doing odd jobs for random people around town, such as collecting sticks. That's how we'll save the kingdom. Menial chores. Anyway, let's go into the good and the bad, followed by my final thoughts. Alright? Now keep in mind, this game is in early access, and some of what I speak about may be changed in future. Also, for a survival game as large as this, it's kind of impossible for me to cover everything in a timely manner, so think of this video more of a first look at the game rather than a full review. Alright? Okay. So, up first for the positives is the look and feel of the game. Overall, the graphics quality isn't the worst. I've definitely seen far worse than this. It's not super awesome or anything, but it's not terrible either. For the kind of game this is and what's expected, plus the size and scope of this game, when you take all of that into consideration, the game is actually rather good looking. And that's, you know, they've got good attention to detail, decent lighting and shadow effects, as well as smooth animations and good coloring. Honestly, not the worst thing to look at in my opinion. Next up for the positives is the tutorial. It's actually not too bad. It is missing a little bit, but we'll go into that later. They give you just enough information with little previews on what to do and a decent explanation on what, who, how, why, and everything else. There's a lot to decode here, so a tutorial is much appreciated, and the fact that it teaches you basics step by step while showing you how and why to do what you're doing just makes the entire thing more clear and easier to understand, which was very much appreciated. It's not the best tutorial because it does leave some things out, as I mentioned earlier, but for the most part, you know, it was understanding it and actualizing it was fairly standard. The next positive thing I'd like to talk about is the gameplay. This is going to be in the negatives as well. For a basic survival game, for the most part, it's all pretty decent and well designed, I guess. Your character has animations for everything they do. It all takes time, which is realistic, if albeit a bit slow, but it's all fairly standard. I feel like the building mechanic kind of reminds me of Sons of the Forest, right? Like you have to place everything down, or you could just keep it in inventory if you want, but each building has like a resource storage thing for when you're building, and then you got to place each part and slowly build this thing up. Unlike Sons of the Forest, where you have no idea what you're doing and you're just placing things together hoping it makes something, here you don't got to worry about that, but you still do got to place things, you know, like piece by piece, and I actually really like that idea. There's hunting, fishing, crafting, fighting, leading and commanding troops, ordering villagers around as you build up your own little town. Kind of like Medieval Dynasty a little bit. You have to eat and sleep and gather. Basically, it has the basics of a survival game, but then added in some combat and adventure type stuff, like dialogue choices, gear, skills, stats, management of your village, and I could keep going. All of this is done very decently, I guess. It's not great, mind you, but it's done well enough to be kind of fun and engaging. Almost has that player retention, almost has that addictive nature to it, but not quite. So why did I put it in the positives? Because it's still in early access, and the foundation here for great gameplay is solid as long as they improve on some things. For instance, the combat is terrible in my opinion. It's kind of like Mount and Blade, how you gotta swipe your mouse and click for him to swing a certain direction and or block or whatnot. However, it's a lot slower here, and it's more awkward and harder to connect attacks. I don't know why my guy's club is not smacking that wolf in the face. It looks like it should be, so I don't understand. So, you know, that kind of stuff needs to be fixed. The management of your village needs some more work too. Sometimes they're really helpful, which is awesome, and other times they're really useless. But it's in the positives because for the most part it does work, and it does seem to flow rather smoothly when you actually get into it. The crafting and base building aspects are done really well, and I like that. That's the heart of every survival game anyway, and, well, that's the basics of what I can tell you at this point in time. And last but not least for the positives is the co-op and the stability. A survival game of this scope and size with this detail and quality, and I can play this with my wife. Like, we love playing survival games together. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that. It all started with Rust. Since then, we've been playing every co-op survival game that shows any promise, and we love doing it. So that's what gets this game a plus in my book. As for the stability, well, despite a few sound screeching glitches, I didn't notice anything. Considering it's an early access game, I was expecting a lot more, but no. No frame rate drops, no freezing or crashing or clipping, nothing. So it's fairly stable, at least for me it was, and that's always nice. It played smoothly too, even on Ultimate Graphics. Like there was no lagging or anything like that, and I was actually surprised. And that's all I got for the positives. Next up is the negatives, but let me take a quick break and shamefully beg you for your support. Please help my channel grow and gain some more popularity. Like, comment, subscribe, and share my content online. These things help me grow way more than you might think, and I'd really appreciate your support, and I love talking to you guys, so please leave me some comments. Thank you. Now then, on to the negatives. And before I go on to the rest of this list, I'm going to ad-lib a little bit here. The user interface, the UI, it's okay, I guess. It's a little confusing, it's a little awkward, and it seems to be different for like every different menu you go in. Like the design and the layout kind of seems different for almost every different thing you're looking at, and I don't understand why. And the user interface and the key bindings are also a little bit awkward and kind of annoying to navigate and manage. So it's kind of a minor thing, but I wanted to point that out. Alright, so now the first negative that I actually had written down here is the sound design. But let me point out now, the game currently has full AI voice acting. It's okay, I won't judge it because they promise they'll add real voice actors at a later date. But I'm judging it as it is now and not as it will soon be. Or might never be, who knows. But the music is also kind of bland and forgettable. It even kind of just zooms in and overlaps the AI dialogue. Like, I barely notice it half the time until it's overlapping the dialogue. And overall, it's just bleh. The sound effects sound okay, I guess. I mean, they sound whatever. Whatever I do manage to hear it, it just sounds, average. Nothing to write home about. It's in the negative simply because of the music and the AI voice acting, along with its quote-unquote promise to bring in real voices. I don't like that. I don't like when they say, oh, we got AI voices now and we'll put in real ones later. Here's the thing. Why? Why would they? Right? You got to think about this logically. It costs money to have voice actors. It doesn't cost money to use AI. So why would they do that if it's already selling and working as is? See what I mean? That doesn't really sound right. So I just wanted to point that out. Maybe I'm just being paranoid and crazy, but I don't trust game developers at all. So yeah. Next up for the negatives is that price tag. Considering what's here, how it's put together, and the fact that it's early access, you're asking me for $30? I mean, come on. This game isn't worth more than $25 at most. With its awkward and slow combat, its awkward and slow base building, its awkward and slow progression, it's just not worth it. Last but not least for the negatives is the gameplay. Yes, it's in the negatives as well. I kind of went into this a little bit earlier, but allow me to now elaborate. The gameplay overall does have a well-designed foundation, but as it is now, it's also just kind of boring. There's no fast travel, so you have to run everywhere with a stamina bar that depletes so fast I feel like my character is 90 years old. I don't understand why game developers keep doing this. Me, personally, I'm a little bit out of shape, and I'm in my 30s, and I could sprint for probably 10 minutes without needing to stop. So why in video games do developers keep designing these characters who can only sprint for 10 seconds? And these are normally characters who are in shape, or they're warriors, or something, prime of their life, and I can sprint faster and farther than them. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's ludicrous. Then you've got everything about the gameplay itself. I mean, if you take out the actual base building, everything else here feels pretty awkward and slow. Combat isn't fun. It's actually annoying. Gathering resources is not fun. It's annoying. It's tedious because everything takes longer thanks to the well-designed animations. In your survival game, your gathering resources isn't fun or engaging. Like, that's a problem. You always need more resources, right? Well, that's typical. But in this game, you need like a far more amount than you would typically think you would need for such things. And then they don't give you the storage for the kinds of numbers of resources that you need. Like, every kind of storage the game gives you is way too small. And yet you need to grab so many resources. Like, that's not okay. You need items to research other items, but you can't get those items until you research something else, which needs something else. Like, why make it so complicated? It's a bow. Wooden rope is all you need. All I need to do is learn how to make rope. So why don't you just make it so I can learn how to make rope without needing to, like, I don't know how to make rope in this game. How do you make rope? Why can't I learn how to make rope? I've got a research bench. Let me make rope. Like, why? So that's annoying. Did I mention that you cannot loot resources from any village that isn't yours or allied to you? Yeah, you can't even clean up clutter. You are unallowed to pick up sticks if it happens to be too close to that village right there. No, Phil over there on the corner, he needs that stick. You can't touch it. I've never seen that in a game before. Also, the management of your villagers is really weird. I don't know why they aren't doing what I want them to do. It says put them on, the builder job, and then you can watch them gather resources for you, but there's no structure or place where you can assign stacking of resources. So where do they put them? Like, are they holding on to them? Can you get them from somewhere? You know, it says that they're gathering sticks and logs, but I can't find them anywhere. And oh, wait, now they're just going to stand there and do nothing all day, even though I need them to do stuff. It said have this guy build this and research this, and he's not doing it, even after I... okay, the game didn't teach me anything about this, and I have no clue what's going on. I have no idea why it's not working, and that's a problem. These are just a few examples of what I mean by awkward and slow. I'm sure that when the game gets more developed, it'll iron things out a bit, but at time of writing this and playing it and looking at it now, it just seems awkward overall, and it takes forever to do anything. Alright, so that's all I got to say about the pros and cons of the game. It's just, okay, overall, it's not horribly designed, right? Like, it's not some piece of crap game. You know, it does have some flaws, right? The stamina bar needs balancing, the combat needs some fine-tuning, as does the management of your village and villagers. Some more information, some clearer instruction, and overall streamlining of management and pathing and whatnot, but, you know, it's an early access game. I expected a lot of issues like this. It's not a bad game, not in my opinion. What does concern me, though, is the publisher/developers. I've heard rumors that these guys tend to abandon games left and right, which makes me worried for the future of this game. As of this moment, I don't think it's a bad game. At least, you know, it does have voice acting, even if it is AI. At least it does have a solid foundation for crafting, building, and fighting. It does have an interesting story. And it does allow you to play with at least one friend. But do I recommend it? At this point, honestly, no. And here's my reason. If the rumors about these devs and publishers abandoning games happens to be true, you would literally just be wasting your money for nothing. I'm not sure how much fun this game will end up becoming, but as of right now, I would not invest. Instead, put it on your wish list, follow the game, and wait to see if it does end up getting abandoned. If not, then maybe give it a try. Because despite how this game does seem to have a pretty good thing going for it, I want to point out that it's a good foundation. Not a good house, a good foundation. There is room to work. There is stuff here that could be turned and developed and made better and could end up becoming something special and creative and original and fun. But I'm looking at the long term of what it could be. What it is right now, it does not feel worth $30. And I'm not going to invest $30 in a game that could end up getting abandoned for this quality. Everything looks and feels like it should, and yet it still feels off. And I still found myself more annoyed and bored than I was actually having fun. Now, obviously, like I said, this could get changed later on as the game gets further developed if it doesn't get abandoned. Honestly, it's not the worst survival game I've played. Like I said, there's a lot of potential here, but I'm not going to invest in a game that may become abandoned at $30. I would definitely recommend you wait and see before purchasing. Alright? Alright, so that's all the time I got for this video, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around till the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.